Well, good morning, boys and girls. Welcome to Farm Smart Virtual Field Trips. We're so glad so many of you have joined us this morning, and it's a beautiful day in the Imperial Valley. I'm Mrs. Collins. I am coming to you from our Farm Smart classroom, and we have our field trip presenter today, Mr. Jack Vessey, a local farmer grower who's actually out in his field.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to a beautiful cabbage field in Imperial Valley, in all of our Imperial Valley. I'm honored to be with you today, and thanks to Stacy and Stephanie for inviting me to share what we do out here. It's been a long process from growing this crop to harvesting, as you see behind me. This crop's been in the ground since the beginning of September. We planted this from a little tiny seed, watered it, and now you have here. Can you guys see everybody okay?
Yes.
We got some beautiful little heads of cabbage we're packing today. And these will be on their way to a store in the next day or two. They'll be shipped out tonight and headed to the store. So I just wanted to show you guys kind of what we do and how we do it. I'm on the phone every day talking to salespeople and buyers and setting up orders. They buy it from us and we decide how much to pack every day. Today, for instance, we started out with a little order of 840 of these cartons behind you, and that just got bumped up to 1,680. So we're gonna do 1,680 of these cartons today, and they'll all be loaded up in a cooler tonight where we take the product to a warehouse, a cooler, to get cooled. What that means is that we wanna take the temperature down because we don't wanna ship it hot. It's not hot today, but we wanna get it down to 34 degrees, just like your refrigerator. So we send it to a facility and they take this product and they cool it down and put it in a big refrigerator. And then we wait for trucks to pick it up and take it to the store. So come on, follow me, let's go, come on. Just wanna show you how we do it. You know, I just want to mention that everything we do out here couldn't be done with all these people here. The people on the ranch, from the planting of the crop to the growing of the crop to the harvesting of the crop. Without these people, we couldn't get it done. So that's what makes this happen, to be able to feed people, feed the nation, to get this product out to your grocery stores so people can eat it. It takes a lot of people, a lot of hard work, a lot of determination. And one thing I want to do is say thank you to all those involved in making this product available to all of you. So let's go see how they do it. We take our trusty knife and we're gonna cut the product. And how we're selling this product today is it's 22 to 24 different heads in one box. So you'll see how they count it. Let's go, come on this way. So my awesome cameraman's my sister, Heather. So Heather, if you can pan down. So each guy takes a bed or a line on a bed. They cut it, throw it up on the sorting tray so it can be cleaned or sorted based on size. And then they're gonna put 24 heads in that box. They're gonna pack it really nice in the box. I don't know if you can get a shot of the box being packed, maybe over on that side. Over here.
Can you describe the size of those heads of cabbages, like compared to what kind of ball?
Yeah, that's about a big softball or a small basketball, kind of in between. And we also pack it depending on the time of year and what the demand is or what people want, or if the cabbage gets real big and I can't sell it, we'll pack 18 to 20 heads in a box sometime. And there has been times where I put 12 heads in one of those boxes, which then it's like a basketball size.
Why would someone want a smaller one versus a bigger one?
Yeah, most retail stores, like the grocery stores you guys go to, they want 22, 24 count, this similar size. And usually you'll see this in the store. And really that's based on a family not needing a basketball head of cabbage for their refrigerator. They want a manageable size they're gonna have for dinner. And then there's also some markets that like big cabbage. And then we found an ethnic market in Los Angeles where they want really big cabbage, make cabbage wraps. A lot of the Middle Eastern communities, that's part of their staple food is cabbage wrap with food, and they want the really big, huge head of cabbage. So every now and then we'll get orders for that. But most of the time we're packing 22 to 24 heads in a box for retail grocery stores because that's the size they demand. They don't want it much bigger on their shelves. So you can also see over here, based on the orders, we've got whole other crew working. So we've got two crews out here working, and what this crew behind me did earlier today is they packed what we call bins, which is in a different type of cabbage. So you see this is the smaller type that I'm showing you. In another part of the field, we have heads 2 to 3 times this size. They're about that big. And that's for processing. When I say processing, A lot of that goes to plants where they chop it up and put it in bags for coleslaw or tacos. It's already shredded, value added. Like you see salad bags on your shelves at your store. Well, a lot of people now, they're using cabbage as well in those salad bags. Taylor Farms, for instance, when you go to the store, they use a lot of cabbage in their mixed salads. And so they're taking this cabbage and we're putting it in big bins, and we'll see some over here. You can see them in the background, the big white bins. And that's taken to a processing plant where it's chopped up, put into 5-pound bags, 10-pound bags, 1-pound bags, whatever the customer requires, to go to different restaurants, stores, salad bag processors, to get used already chopped up, so they don't have to worry about chopping it up. It comes to them chopped already. So there's various ways we get this product out of the field and get it used. I mentioned the different size in the boxes. I mentioned the bins. And again, this stuff's going all over the United States. Actually, I've got orders right now. They're looking for a lot of cabbage on the East Coast. When I say East Coast, I'm talking anywhere from Florida to New York, up on the eastern seaboard. They had a lot of rain. They had a hurricane, tropical storm go through there. So the cabbage they grow on the East Coast, they can't get to it right now. It's underwater. So we're big demand, meaning people really need this product today. So we're getting really busy and trying to get it all out of the field. If Heather pans, this is what I look every day to see how much I have to harvest. You know, we have it set up so it's scheduled to harvest each week. I don't want to plant something. I don't want to plant 500 acres of cabbage and have it all ready at once. I have to schedule it each week. I only want a little bit. And so there's different blocks in here. And so as I look ahead, I think, oh my gosh, do I need to slow down? Do I need to hurry up? Do I need to sell more? Using a lot of math to figure out how much I need each day, how much I need each week, how much I need each season. And looking ahead, I call it a sea of cabbage. I've got a lot of cabbage to move, so I'm trying to push sales to push more cabbage, because one of the things we have here, children, is we have what's called a perishable commodity. We're not making a box of a widget. We're not making a good that can sit on a store shelf for months at a time. It's perishable, meaning if I don't harvest it on time, it's gonna, if you will, excuse me, die in the field. So we have to make sure we're harvesting at the right, correct time. The good thing is you can see we have 2 crews packing a lot of cabbage today. Demand, there's a thing called economics, supply and demand. Demand meaning how many people need cabbage right now. I mentioned the East Coast has problems with rain. Well, they can't get cabbage out. So on the whole, as the United States, they need so much of this product per day. So now they're looking to us to fill those orders. So I showed you some cabbage. It's on the small side right now because I'm ahead, meaning I'd normally wait another few days to be in this cabbage right now, harvesting it, but demand's really good. And the market says, we don't care what size it is. We need the product now. And so we're trying to push out as much product as possible today, tomorrow, and the next week while the demand's high. Well, there's a lot of people that need it. When there's other areas that don't have it, that makes the demand go up. And there's not as much supply. So therefore the market, we are on a rising market right now, which is a good thing. And we just need to make sure we're able to get that product out every day.
Could you remind, a couple of boys and girls are asking some questions you've already said, but just remind them how long it took to grow that cabbage. Like, when did you start those seeds again?
Great question. Yeah, we started planting the block we're in right now. This was the first part of September. So October, so this one is usually we're about on this crop here. October, November. Yeah, this is about a 70, 75 day crop because it's warm, children. So one of the things we do with our planting schedule, and now planting schedule means, I mentioned earlier how I want to have things scheduled out. When I plant it, I want it to harvest on a certain date. So I have to go back. Each seed has what's called days to harvest. We pretty much have an idea, if everything's on average, be weather, that when we plant that seed, it'll be ready to harvest in X amount of days, or so many days, 70, 75 days. But what's cool is when you plant it in August, September, it's really hot, children, right? It's really, really hot. We all know we go outside and it's really hot. So those seeds grow really fast, right? So as it cools down and we start planting in October, November, and it started to cool down, well, those seeds take a lot longer to grow. It could go from 70 days to all of a sudden it takes 100 days, 30 extra days for maturity, to get to maturity for us to harvest, because of the way our temperatures are. If you plant it when it's warm, it's going to grow fast, and then it cools down throughout the season. So this product right now, as we get in cooler months in the wintertime, and also day length. When I say day length, the days are shorter, right? It gets darker a lot earlier. The sun comes up later. So the product really slows down then as well. And so we have to take those factors into account when I make a schedule and try to figure out how many days I need this crop in the ground, because I have what's called contracts, or I have customers that say I need this much product the first week of December. So I have to go backwards and figure out how many acres to plant on what day, so I know that it's ready that week to harvest it for the customer. And that's when it could get difficult.
Someone's asking how much cabbage do you have? And maybe you could give them something that would describe what an acre is.
Yeah. Okay. A football field, for instance. A football field is 1.3 acres. So in this field right here, this area you're looking at here, because there's two different fields, we have about 75 to hold on. There's about, between all this ranch here and cabbage right now, there's about 100 football fields.
Yes.
So there's two different fields. There's about 100 football fields worth of cabbage on these two fields right now. And we just started harvesting about 2 weeks ago. So this spot here from down over there, Heather, from down on that end of the south, you're looking south now, that's where we just started. And then it goes all the way down back towards the mountains of cabbage. So there's, what I say, about 100 football fields worth of cabbage here.
So someone's asking about how much cabbage you could get from 1 acre.
Oh, good question. Really good question. So our goal on this field right now, on these cartons right now, I would love to get 900 to 1,000 cartons per acre. So I want 900 to 1,000 cartons per acre. 850 would be good. And then also I talked about bins and processing where you get that really big cabbage. What I want on that is I want to get 70 to 80,000 pounds per acre. So that's 2 big truckloads per acre of the big head cabbage that's going to go for processing. We have some of that on the other end of the field.
Now, one thing I want you to remind the boys and girls is where you are. Are you far away from us? That, you know, we just remind them that you're not far away. You are here, right close to their houses.
Yeah, right. So look, can you see Mount Signal over there? If you guys know where Mount Signal is, it's right over there. El Centro's that way. And Hopeville's that way. So we're not very far away at all.
There's some questions about, as they're harvesting, about what they're doing up there and kind of what that process is.
Yeah,
and
we can walk where we talk here. It's field of the harvest crews, we call them. So you'll have a tractor driver, because you have to have a tractor, somebody driving the tractor at all times. You've got the guys on top of the machine you might see making the boxes, putting the boxes up, they're ready for loading. You have the cutters. There's people cutting the heads, putting them on the sorting tables we saw earlier. And then you have the packers. They're taking the cabbage off that sorting table and packing it correctly. And then they close the box. They put it up on a belt. And then it goes to the left to the loaders who are stacking the cartons on pallets. And then from here, like I mentioned, they go to a facility, a cooler, a warehouse, where we unload it. It gets cooled, brought down to temperature, put in a big refrigerator, and then we ship it out from there on big trucks to go wherever across the United States. You mentioned about what's left.
Yeah, they want to know if it can be regrown.
No. Once this good question, because there are crops that we harvest and then we water them again and regrow. Spinach, spring mix, we do that with. The cabbage, no. Once this is cut, we're done with this field. And so I mentioned supply and demand earlier, children. And what's cool right now is I said the demand's high. So sometimes when the demand's high, you can get away. Don't quote me, don't tell anybody, but you can get away with cutting almost everything because the customers need it. So if you can see here, yeah, there's some left, but you look behind where the crew was, most of it's cut. But look, see this one right here? This little plant decided he didn't want to grow. So we can't put that in the box. That's too small, right? I don't know what's wrong with this one, maybe too small. But see, they left this one. It's perfectly good, but it's just too small to go in the box. So yeah, sometimes not every head's gonna be perfect, and you have to leave it in the field. It's not worth it to come back and cut sometimes because there's just not enough product. So it's not worth it time-wise, money-wise to go back and harvest it. So what we'll do when this crop is done and the field's dried out, we'll bring a big tractor in here and start preparing the ground again for the next crop, meaning disking it, triplaning it, subsoiling it, different things, different ways we treat the soil to get it ready to replant. And this soil, this could go into wheat crop after this crop. Maybe in the spring we'll plant wheat or we'll plant Sudan grass. And then we'll get ready for vegetables another year, but we'll start tractor work then in the late spring or early summer for the following season.
Nice. So sometimes we see sheep coming in the valley. Is cabbage something that the sheep will eat?
Yeah. Yes. You have pasturing sheep, but one of the things we can't do because of food safety reasons, because we plant vegetables every year on our ground. Even if we have alfalfa, what we do to pasture sheep is we'll put the sheep in the first year of alfalfa. See, alfalfa, we usually keep it in the ground for 4 years, right? And so we'll pasture it the first year, but after that, maybe the second year, but after that, we won't pasture because in 2 or 3 years, we're gonna have vegetables back in the ground. So there's food safety reasons. We don't want to have all that raw sheep manure on the field before we replant a vegetable crop.
So does everybody in that crew have one of those big knives?
Yes, everybody's got it. Not everybody, just the cutters. I mentioned you have the cutters, the packers. The cutters are using these knives to cut the cabbage right now. And so they all have these. They're cutting the cabbage, putting it on that table, and putting it in the box for market.
Some boys and girls are asking about what other kinds of food that you grow.
Oh, there we go. Good question. Yeah, maybe next time we do this again, we'll show you another one. Today on our ranch day, we're harvesting romaine lettuce, green leaf lettuce, red leaf lettuce, butter lettuce, spinach, spring mix. We're going to start broccoli next week. Also, we're harvesting parsley, cilantro, kale. I'm sure I'm forgetting a few. Oh, Napa and bok choy. So yeah, and that's going on different ranches we have right now. So yeah, we're busy all over the place. This is just one I thought would be good for you guys to see. It's our own product that we pack, because those other commodities I grow for other companies and they do the harvesting. Cabbage is one of the only things that we grow, pack, and ship ourselves, that we're in charge of the whole process.
And do those boxes have your label on it? I wasn't able to see up there. Does it have your company logo on it?
Yeah, these boxes do, but we also pack, you probably can't see it from here, but both crews are packing our label right now. And there's a trailer in the middle, and one of the big customers we have right now packs a lot for Walmart, and that's all going out in the Green Giant label. So we're packing ho, 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 Green Giant cabbage, and we pack all their cabbage here in the Imperial Valley in the wintertime, and that's all going to Walmart.
Awesome. So if the boys and girls go to the grocery store and they see Green Giant cabbage, chances are it came here from Imperial Valley.
Correct. That's if they see Green Giant wrapped cabbage with a cello wrap around the head, we packed it here in the Imperial Valley. Correct.
Very nice. So someone wants to know, what is your favorite vegetable?
My favorite vegetable, huh? I love them all. Number one, I don't necessarily have a favorite. From my personal sense, I like a good romaine salad or a spring mix salad. From the business sense, I like the one that's profitable at the end of the year.
All right. Let's see. There's lots of questions here in the chat. Oh, they want to know the name of your company. I don't think I actually had that in the introduction. So what is the name of your company?
Yeah, Vessey and Company. I'm Jack Vessey, Vessey and Company. Actually, my great-grandfather started this business. So I'm fourth generation of this business, and we'll be celebrating our 100th anniversary in 2023.
Well, congratulations. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
Now, remind the boys and girls, do you start with a seed or do you start with a transplant?
Good question.
And describe the difference there.
Yeah. So on our green cabbage, we'll use transplants. When I say transplant, what we do is we talk to a greenhouse. They start growing the plant somewhere else in these trays, and they put the seeds in those trays, and they grow the plant to about 6 inches, right? And they bring those plants to our field, and we use a machine that puts them in the ground. So on our green cabbage, we do that with our first few blocks because we have to hit a certain date, and we can't do it with direct seed. So we use a transplant because it has 45 days in it somewhere before we plant it. The plant's actually 45 days old, so we gain time. All of our red cabbage is transplanted, so it starts somewhere else, and it's brought to us in trays, about 100 plants, 144 plants in a tray that we pull out and use a machine to put them in the ground instead of using a planter with little seeds. This is all transplanted right here. So this was all transplanted, this block, because if we were to direct seed this block, we would have had to plant it like first part of August, mid-August, a little hot. The seed wouldn't quite make it. The plant would grow, but you'd have very little quality. The plant would be small. The plant would be tired. Plants have so much, we call it vigor. They can only go through so much before they decide they're going to quit growing. So yes, we use transplants and direct seed, as we call it.
Now, someone's asking about the water, like how much water you use and how do you know when to water the plant?
All right. No, good question. To put it in we use a few acre feet. So in regards to other crops, cabbage and a lot of the vegetables we grow aren't what we call high use water crops. They really don't use that much water, especially we talk about spinach and spring mix. And I don't know if you have a chart there or something, Stephanie, but spinach can be 1.5 to 2.5 acre feet of water. This cabbage crop, it's a little longer, maybe 3 to 4 acre feet of water. If you have a chart there to put it into households or something, I'm not sure. But that's it. It's not a high use crop. It's only in the ground for you know, anywhere from, depending on time wise, maybe 60, 70 days to 120, depending on the variety. That's how many times we're watering it. Maybe every 7 to 10 days, depending on the weather. Now, one of the things we do is to tell when to water. So to me, I mean, it's about feel and getting a shovel and seeing what your moisture is in the crop. If you can see here right now, I mean, obviously we're harvesting here, but you see how wet it still is. You can see that soil right there. Still got a lot of moisture in it. You don't want to finish with the wet because it's gonna be really hard to do the next crop, but we got a moisture in it. So what you do is when this crop's growing, we go out here, we have our irrigation foreman and his helpers. We'll go out and they'll come out with shovels and they'll walk the field, like old schools we call it, boots on the ground, walk the field and see, hey, do I think this needs water? Because it's timing. It's very important. You can't just keep watering it. You don't want it to get too wet. You don't want it to get too dry. So it's a function of, you know, when does it need water? Like you said, in the question, when do we know? It's really feeling the soil, feeling the dirt, seeing the plant health, and deciding when it needs water.
So some boys and girls, there's a lot of questions about that relate to food safety. So if you could describe, you know, what you do, like some of them are asking about the workers in the field with their mask and their head coverings. And then if there's might be something that might happen to the food, how do you figure that out? And how does that, you know, how do you track that and trace it?
Very good question. I'll kind of do a quick one here. I'll start from the beginning. Before we even planted this field, my ranch manager, myself said, let's plant cabbage on field 117. So before we plant it, we have our food safety manager comes out and inspects the field and tells us if we can plant here or not, because they want to see what's around us, what's the surrounding area, if there's any issues in regards to food safety that she may see, if she may deem that, no, you guys, you can't plant there because there's an issue. There's a feedlot right next door. There's a house with 500 goats next door. Well, then we wouldn't plant cabbage there. So that's before we even plant. So then we come out and plant. And before we do, it's called a pre-plant assessment. So she has a whole sheet for every field that has question marks about in regards to, is it safe to plant there? Is it okay to plant? There are any food safety issues? Then we plant. Also, depending on the ranch, we might have fencing around it, silt fencing to protect it. We'll also have traps for rodents, be it mice or rats, to make sure that we're monitoring to see if there's an issue. And then also the last thing we do before harvest is we have someone come out and they take samples, tissue samples. They'll cut ahead and they'll take a little bit of the leaves from different portions of the field, put it in a bag, take it to a laboratory and test it for different things, E. coli, salmonella, and various other things. And we won't touch the field. We will not harvest it until that test comes back and says negative. And once that says negative, then we're going to harvest. Now, food safety wise, hair nets, a lot of the crew will have gloves on. They've all been COVID tested this year before we started harvesting. There's no chewing gum, nothing in your mouth, no jewelry. Sorry. You can't have any of that. Your knives, when you're done cutting, when they go to their buses to have lunch or break, they have to put their knives in a sanitized bucket with a sanitizing agent. So we make sure, you know, I used to take your knife to lunch and use it. Well, we don't do that anymore. We put our knife off to the side, have our lunch, go wash our hands. Everybody has to wash their hands after lunch. Then they get their knife out of the sanitizing agent, come back to work. I hope that was
all right. That was great. There are a lot of questions and we have about 5 minutes left, so I'm going to try to get through as many as possible. Well, someone wants to know, you might have said it, but remind us again, how many fields a year do you grow? So maybe in acres, since we know an acre's a football field. So how many football fields of vegetables do you grow every year?
Well, you're asking me to do math now, so hold on.
Exactly. That's what teachers like. Teachers like to hear that.
If you look at like this field here, we've got about 100, we're farming about 120 different areas like this. About 100 to 150, depending on the year, we manage that many fields in vegetables is what we're doing. So I said this was like, 50, 60 football fields. So multiply that. So 6,000 football fields, I guess you could say.
You mentioned your other vegetables, but I did not hear carrots mentioned. Do you all grow carrots? There's several kids asking about that.
No, we used to grow carrots. What I do now is one of the larger carrot companies because carrots are really good for the ground, and that brings up a point of crop rotation. But carrots, I'll go back to that. But carrots are really good crop rotation. So one of the large carrot companies, Grimway Farms, actually, we every year in the spring we say we have this ground that needs to go to carrots, and then we rent the ground to them, and they farm carrots on our farm ground. It works better for us. They farm it, and it's a good rotation. When I say rotation, you guys, very important. I don't want to plant the same crop in the same piece of ground year after year after year. What that does, each crop is different and takes up different things from the soil, different nutrients, right? And so if you keep growing the same thing on the same ground every year, each year it's going to look worse and worse and worse, almost like it's getting sick because it's taking the same nutrients out of the ground. You can only put back so much, right? And then it starts creating disease problems where these can get a disease, where they can get sick basically. And so what you want to do is plant different crops in them. And with our vegetables, we have our own rotation. Our vegetables, like this is cabbage right now. Next year it might be romaine lettuce. The year after that could be iceberg lettuce, could be spinach spring mix. But we'll plant now. We'll plant it in vegetables for about, depending on how the rotations, how the field is, a variety of other factors. Maybe anywhere from 6 to 10 years, 6 to 12 years in vegetables, and then we'll plant alfalfa after that. After the alfalfa, we hope it goes into carrots, and then we'll get back to planting vegetables, just for our soil health, to keep the soil healthy. Again, you can if you want to, but we avoid to plant the same crop in the same piece of ground year after year after year. We want to move it around what crop we're growing to keep the soil healthy. Very important to us to make sure we have, without healthy soil, we're not going to have healthy plants. Years ago, we had sugar beets. We don't grow sugar beets anymore. We just don't have a contract for them. Actually, we leased some ground to somebody who's growing sugar beets now. And as a vegetable farmer, and good question, the thing with beets, years ago, people thought, it leaves the field really weedy because they couldn't control the weeds. They didn't really need to because the beets would grow and there'd be a bunch of weeds underneath. But since the sugar beets grow in the dirt, it wasn't a big worry. So it almost got, the term of, the fields were dirty after beets. Well, now with Roundup Ready sugar beets, they're able to spray the weeds and keep better control of it. So we're starting to allow more beets grown on vegetable ground for also in a rotation. Kind of opens up the ground. They got a deep root, which once things go deep, they loosen the ground up and it helps for the next crop.
Nice. Now, before we finish up, a lot of people are wanting to know, what do you like about your job and what is the best thing about it? So if you can share that with us.
Yeah, I think being outdoors is good. But I really think the thing that makes me happy out here is every day is different. We're growing different crops every day. There's different things happening. I have to deal with something different every year. It's not the same thing year after year after. It's always something different, whether it's trying to stay in business compliance, if you will, if it's a new marketing trend, if there's issues, there's problems. We're always dealing with stuff. We're not in a factory making the same thing over and over and over again. Yeah, we've been growing cabbage for a lot of years, but there could be a different disease. There could be a different marketing thing. Like right now, as mentioned, demand's really good. Well, that's exciting. People are calling, they're demanding this product. I'm trying to manage, what can we do? How much can we get out of the field a day? And it becomes rewarding that you planted this little seed, you made a plan. This is a whole year-long process. I'm already thinking about next year. And so from last year, thinking about where we're going to plant this, how many acres of it we're going to plant, to see now behind you, we're harvesting. It's going to market. So it's rewarding to see, if you will, the vegetables of our labor.
That's amazing. Well, it's 10 o'clock, so we're going to wrap it up. But I would like to say to everyone out there a happy Thanksgiving and tell you that, Mr. Vessey, we are thankful for you. We're thankful for your time and effort that you put into growing our food in a safe manner. And we appreciate all you do for the Imperial Valley and for joining us this morning. So a lot of our panelists are saying goodbye. They're saying thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Happy
Thanksgiving
to you all.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.